And here we go. It's the game that we all knew would someday arrive in an Orange Bowl that we hoped we wouldn't have to play in, but it is what it is. In what will always be known as the biggest snub in college football history, the biggest travesty of justice in college football history. And I ain't talking about Florida State. Anyone with a brain that work knows they ain't a top four team, no matter who their quarterback is. So I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about the team that won back to back natties, the team that won 29 straight games, the team that was ranked number one in more polls and for more weeks than I can count, and barely lost in an SEC championship game by 3 points, lost it by one erroneous, horrendous officiating error, and then was inexplicably and arbitrarily, once again, erroneously moved back to number 6. And that team is, of course, UGA, the University of Georgia. And we are still the two-time defending champions. So here's what we did, and here's what we're going to do. What we did was assemble the number one recruiting class, a historic class, because it is ranked higher than any class ever. And if that wasn't enough, Kirby pillaged the portal. Want a running back? Boom, he picks up ETN from Florida. Want a receiver or maybe two? Bang, he scoops one up from Vandy and another one from the Canes. Is it a D lineman that you want? Pow, he picks one off from the Cox. And coaches like, I don't know, Billy Napier from Florida, these guys, they work the portal like the fattest guy at the Golden Corral buffet, waiting for the waitress to dump out some fresh in quotes if you can't see me, crab claws. And these crab claws are fresh like a 2-year-old's diaper after his first McDonald's Happy Meal. Meanwhile, and all the while, Kirby re-recruits his roster, his entire roster. A roster that's in a constant state of motion between the transfer portal and guys going to the National Football League, where he has to do things like tactfully show 5 stars that maybe there's greener pastures elsewhere because he knows that they may not get playing time in the future because of its constant roster upgrades. What does Kirby also do? He also controls the narrative. Controls the narrative when poetic, attention-seeking, attention whores actually, attention-seeking quarterback whores like, I don't know. Who writes poetry as an attention-seeking whore quarterback? Who might that be? I don't know. You might know. But what he might do in that instance is right when that happens, announce that Beck is actually staying. And then he might announce that Bolden has flipped from FSU to us. And I find it very interesting, the timing of Bolden's flip. Shockingly interesting. Dylan Ravioli and Bolden were high school teammates at Beaufort, as you probably know. Ravioli decommits, and then magically Bolden is back in play instantly. Is it possible that Bolden didn't want to spend any more time in a locker room with Ravioli? I submit that it's not only possible, it's highly likely. Now, that's what Kirby and his crew did. They kept winning. And here's what's going to happen. As expected, we will destroy FSU. They'll make every excuse imaginable. Jordan Travis is out. Our second string quarterback hit the portal. Our good players have opted out. Our feelings are still hurt over the CFP. We're distracted because we're trying to leave the ACC, the acutely crappy conference. Then Alabama will beat Michigan. by more than 3 points, and Texas will beat Washington easily. And then Alabama will beat Texas, beat them by double digits to win the Natty. And then everyone will all of a sudden say, golly, gee whiz, I guess Georgia actually was one of the 4 best teams. And it'll be too late, of course. And we'll finish ranked 4th or 3rd or possibly even 2nd. And as bitter as I am and will always be over how ridiculously and how unfairly and how erroneously we got screwed, the glasses half full part is it's never going to happen again, because with a 12-team playoff, a Kirby Smart led Bulldog team will never be left out again. So I am thrilled that we are finally able to coordinate schedules so that we can have my friend and world-renowned photographer Rob Saye join us. How you doing, Rob?
I'm doing great, Mad Dog. Appreciate you having me on, man. It's been we've been talking about it for a couple of years, so I'm glad that we're able to do it here as the new year goes, and we're getting on the eve of the Orange Bowl, which should hopefully be a big win down there. So I'm heading down in the morning.
And for people who may think you don't know Rob, actually, as a Dawg fan, you do, and you've seen his pictures because you've seen his pictures on the cover of Bulldog Illustrated more times than you can count. And if you have gone to the Hotel Indigo in Athens, he's got a whole, not display, what's the right word for that? A show.
Yeah, they let Barry Rutherford and Rick Fine and Jim Price and Addie, who runs the hotel, they let me do a gallery of my photos this fall, and it ran from August 15th through December. I just took it down a couple weeks ago, so they'll put something else seasonally in there. But for all intents and purposes and everything I've heard, it was a great success. Everybody enjoyed it. I think the timing was great to have it during football season, and people enjoyed seeing it, I hear. So, but the feedback was great. I'm really excited to have done that. That was a first in my photographic career to be able to have a gallery. So it's exciting thing for an artist, if you would.
Gallery was the word I was looking for. And it was amazing. I'm so glad that I got to see it. So many just, iconic photos of like the Keely Ringo catch that you caught, of him at the apex that I have in my office. And then aside from all these iconic photos were kind of like, insider photos that you had with Stetson as you were his personal photographer throughout his journey, and just really cool stuff. And Georgia photos are just the tip of the iceberg with you and a very long career. But before we get into that, if people want to purchase any of these photos, how do they get them?
Yeah, so it's kind of an interesting situation on that. Funny that you just had Stephen Farmer on there. So we're working on the photos thing right now. As far as the NIL has kind of made it a gray area. So I'm hoping, frankly, to work with Stephen and the Classic Collective to figure that out. So right now it's kind of, we came from a time when we actually couldn't sell our photos, and that it has to do right along with the kids not being able to make any money off their images. And so now that that's changed, we're still working through that. So hopefully there'll be a good answer for that soon in the new year, as far as my photos. But I did have one, which is over my shoulder here, that my son painted, which is was kind of one of probably the biggest win of our of the gallery, because my son painted this painting of Ugga and Harry Dawg, and it took off. The hotel bought it for the original, and they put it permanently in the hotel. And then I am selling prints of that for $100 for 11 by 14s. We've sold quite a few. So it's been a great deal for him. It's kind of his first, exploration into painting, and he's young. He's not even 20 yet, and so that's been the big item that I've been trying to push, so to speak, and selling on Facebook to my friends and everybody. And then on that, if you can find me on Facebook or Instagram, and or just call me or text me, and I can give those before we hang up. And happy to work with anybody. If there are some images that you may want, get in touch with me and we'll see what we can do.
And speaking of Facebook, find Rob on Facebook. It's Rob Saye, Saye, and he posts the coolest pictures of all these famous people that he's gotten to be friends with over the years and gotten pictures with. I mean, more than I can even name. But there's one I definitely want to cover with you, and
Okay.
that's Jack Nicklaus and your
Right.
relationship with Jack.
Okay. Well, that's been a blessing like none other, really. It's kind of the thing I keep telling people. I'm going to wake up one day and it never happened, because I was a huge Jack Nicklaus fan my whole life. I mean, he was my idol from, I'm a golfer, and, just Jack has always been my guy. And by the grace of God, I was watching TV in 2013, and he came on, and Dan Hicks and he started talking about an event they were going to do in Atlanta. And but I work with Score Atlanta as one of my IJ Rosenberg, and Score Atlanta is kind of part of my journey on how I got to be a sports photographer. And I called and said, hey, I want to come cover this event. It was called the John Wooden Citizenship Award. And I'll try to make this compact story, but went down there and was blessed to meet Mr. Nicklaus. Showed him a picture of me and him from 1984 at the Masters, and he just kind of went crazy over that. And then met Scott Tolley, who was his VP of communications, and just built a relationship with Scott over time. And Coach Dooley was at that event. And it was just a really great event. And then eventually I go to the Masters every year. I've been blessed to go 41 years in a row. And
Whoa. Back up. Say
Okay.
that again. It's been how many years in a row to the Masters?
41 in a row. So the only one I missed was the one that everybody missed, was the COVID fall Masters, when even the wives couldn't go. But I started in 19.
Hold on. I want to interject one thing quick, and we'll get back to Jack. How many world's largest outdoor cocktail parties have you been to in a row?
46 in a row. Yeah,
Okay.
Those are my two streaks. Yeah. And I did make that during COVID year. So yeah.
That's insane. All right, back to Jack.
Okay. So Jack, on the Jack one, so anyway, I took some pictures of the 2015 par 3 and sent them to Scott. Scott said, thanks. We can't get a credential, which is kind of crazy, because Jack's, 6-time winner and he's a member. But, and also their photographer's been with them for a long time. But the pictures they want, they don't need any more pictures of Jack. They want pictures of the kids that were meaning his grandchildren that were caddying for him. And so Scott said, hey, we just kind of came to an agreement. Let's try it in 2016. And so 2016, I showed up on the first tee, and me and a guy that was photographing for named Bo Wood, that was photographing for Gary Player, we just took off with him and walked with him. And we got in trouble for being, again, you're not supposed to be inside the ropes as a photographer at the Masters. It's the only golf tournament where they don't allow any photographers inside the ropes. And they mean that even on the par 3, but we were getting away with it that day. A couple years later, they corrected us and made us go outside the ropes. But 2016, I shot for him. 2017, we got rained out. 2018 was the magical time when his grandson GT made a hole-in-one on number 9. And that was just one of the most unbelievable moments. And I was fortunate enough and blessed enough to capture everything from him hitting the tee shot to the ball going in the hole, and Jack saying it's his number one memory to Tom Rinaldi, which is, I've been able to build a relationship with Tom from that picture. And so it was just a great time. And that kind of solidified me. That they let me in, they invited me into the cabin for that day. And then 2019, the same thing, and they got to go in the cabin and hang out. Then we had a couple of COVID years, and then 2021 he stopped playing the par 3, and I thought it was kind of over, but we ended up doing some things. We got to ride down Magnolia Lane with him, Barbara, who is she's phenomenal, and we were on the set at the ESPN set, which was really cool. And also went up. I don't know if I'm supposed to say this, but we went into a special room at the clubhouse that I was not allowed to show pictures from, but we did a an interview on the front porch of Augusta when Jack sat there and talked about the '86 Masters, which is my favorite. The back nine when he came
Right.
back and won that, and
Right.
then from that I ended up going to Scotland with him in 2022 when Jack got the Citizen of St. Andrews. Is an honor that's only been bestowed to 3 Americans. Jack was the third. The others were Bobby Jones and in the late '50s, and then Benjamin Franklin received the first one. So it's a pretty heavy duty group, and I got to go over there, and it was phenomenal. It was the 150th Open at St. Andrews, and we just had a blast. And I ended up, we took a bunch of pictures on the Swilken Bridge with Jack and the family, and then he had his whole family there. That's why I was there to photograph the family, and Tiger Woods and Rory McIlroy, all these guys. So we ended up all taking pictures with him on the Swilken Bridge, and I ended up being the last guy on the Swilken Bridge, and with Jack, and I definitely don't deserve. I have no business being that guy, but somebody had to do it, So, but it's been an unbelievable relationship, and I look forward to being at the Masters with them. I was there this year with them, and hopefully next year and years to come. But it's just been surreal. They're fantastic people. Scott Tolley's a great guy. I've gotten to know the whole family, and it's just one of those relationships that you never would have thought would happen, and just got blessed. And like I say, I keep thinking I'll wake up and it never happened. So.
Man, that is so cool, and that's coming from a guy who's got a really cool job, right? I mean, you get to take all these pictures with all these famous people,
Well,
accomplished athletes.
Well, like I tell kids and I tell my son, I said, I'm not an overnight success if I'm a success at all. It's one of those things that, it took time. I've been photographing Georgia for 17 years. A lot of those celebrities that I met, I wouldn't say I'm friends with them by any means. I just got to meet them and get a picture with them. But I've always enjoyed, getting a chance to meet successful people, and, hopefully that I can glean something from that, that interaction that, would help me as strive to do better. And that's what I've always kind of been attracted to. That I don't know if it's stargazing or whatever you want to call it, but it's been great. And you realize that these guys put their pants, and ladies put their pants on just like we do, and they've just been able to do something extraordinary with their lives, and whether it's through skill or mostly hard work. And I think that's the lesson that all these people that are very successful, they were just like you and me, and they just but they put in the hard work, and they became successful because of determination and that kind of thing. So that's what I've kind of gleaned out of it. But I've been fortunate. I met quite a few people like Muhammad Ali and Pele and some of the greats. And this thing with Jack is just surreal, frankly.
You've also seen some incredible music, and we were talking one time, and we're everybody was bragging about the concerts that they'd seen, and you made. It wasn't a boast. It wasn't a claim. It was what had really happened. And you'll help me to remember this, but you have seen Elvis, you have seen Frank Sinatra, and can you remember who the other ones were on your list of?
Yeah, I mean, I got blessed. My parents took me and my brother, and we didn't want to go, but we kind of fought going. But they took us to see Elvis in '73 at the Omni, and it was just the most unbelievable thing. It was my first concert. I was 12 years old, and or 13, I guess, and it was just phenomenal. And then I've just always been a big Sinatra fan, so I got to see him about 5 times, and try to see all the big ones. I took my son, who just actually just walked out the door. I took him to see the Eagles before Glenn Fry passed away, and took him to see Springsteen, who I've seen a bunch of times, and who else? We saw Paul McCartney, been able to see him quite a few times, and we went to see the Stones too. So, I've been fortunate to see the Stones about 5 times, and hope to see them again when they come. So, I've always enjoyed. Just saw the Eagles, thanks to one of our really good friends. I was on the second row for the Eagles just a couple of weeks ago, and that was really surreal. That was
that a John Neal special?
That was a John Neal special, our good friend. That's how we met. I met Mad Dog through my good friend John Neal, who may be a little under the weather right now. So we wish him the best.
Yes, thoughts
he's
and
one
prayers.
of the greatest guys you'd ever meet in your life. And,
absolutely.
Extremely generous man and just a fantastic guy. So really wishing him the best and hope he feels better soon.
Now we don't want anybody to get the wrong idea. He's not dying.
No. He's we just I just know he's a little bit not feeling
Yes,
great today.
yes.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so but there were some other ones that were like crazy elite, top shelf Frank Sinatra, Elvis level folks that you saw like back in the 73 time
Yeah,
frame.
I'm a big Steely Dan fan. I mean, they're
So
kind of my
yep.
favorite band. But I saw, back in the day, we saw Kiss and Aerosmith, and I started going to. I grew up in Atlanta in DeKalb County. I went to Clarkston High School, and concerts were the big thing to do. So I've still got the T-shirts from. I mean, I can't put my leg in them really. It's kind of I can't believe I was ever that size, but it's Aerosmith and Kiss and gosh, Bad Company and
Did you see
all
the
these.
Bee Gees? Did you see the Bee Gees?
Never saw the Bee Gees.
Oh,
There's a couple I didn't see. I missed Michael Jackson. That's kind of a crazy story, but some of the greats that were around. But I saw a lot of most of all the big bands back in those days. I got a chance to see those guys. So that's like that T-shirt where we say we're old, but we got to see all the great bands.
well,
So.
yeah. I mean, you're at a party and people are bragging about shows they've seen, and you throw Sinatra and Elvis out there, and you kind of you drop the mic because nobody's going to top that.
A lot of these, yeah, my kid would go. I don't know. He just went to U2 with his mom last weekend. They went to see them in Vegas at that Sphere. So
Right.
that did go up to his favorite concert of all time. But obviously, that's a lot of the special effects was a big part of that too. But apparently, that's a must see type thing. So
That's what I've heard.
yeah. It was great. But Sinatra, I'm a big Sinatra fan. I always was, and was blessed to see him 5 times, in the day, a lot at Chastain and all that. So
If you don't like Sinatra, that's un-American.
it should be. Yeah. It should
I
be. You
mean,
should lose your card. Yeah. So
all right. All right, Elvis, was this like bigger, like disco Elvis?
no,
Big.
it was top of his game. It was the Aloha from Hawaii tour. So I would tell you, if you want to see one Elvis concert, rent or Google or YouTube the Aloha from Hawaii, which at the time was the most watched television show in the world. It was satellite. It was early. They were pitching it because it was satellite, which was new and big in '73, and but that was his tour. So he did the same. He did it in Hawaii, in Honolulu, and then he toured the country or the world doing the same show in the same, exact same show. So I saw the same show he did, and it was just surreal. I mean, when he came out, we were sitting on the side of the stage, and he came out down below us in the white jumpsuit. They were playing 2001: Space Odyssey music,
Yeah.
and then they cut into CC Rider when he got up there, and it was just. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. I mean, it still sits in my head, now. Over 50 years later, which is hard to believe. And it's still, it would be if I could go back and see one show again, that would be it without
Well,
question.
you've just inspired me with a great idea. That's what I should do. I've got a new TV. I should go and just rent that show.
Definitely.
And watch it.
It's phenomenal. I haven't seen it in years. So you're going to make me, I'm going to have to do it when I get back from Miami and watch it again.
So you're headed to the Orange Bowl. How do you feel?
Feel great. Yeah, I'm excited about it. I'm just, it's like we were talking earlier, I had lunch with some of my fraternity brothers today, and we were all sitting around going, we're spoiled because, a couple of years ago, if we were going to the Orange Bowl, there'd be the whole Dawg Nation would be heading to Miami. And now people are like, well, it's, we're not in the playoffs, so I'm not going. So, I'm excited because it's the Orange Bowl. It's one of the big bowls. I mean, I've always wanted to shoot that game. I got to shoot it a couple of years ago. Of course, the stakes were higher then, but it's a bowl game. It's in Miami, and it's one of the great ones of all time. And and I feel good about the team. I'm excited that Carson's back, and I feel like we're going to, I'd be shocked if we don't roll them big with all the people that, as you just were talking about just in your last guest with all the people they have out, even their backup quarterback's not playing. So I expect us to come up and show out. And that one tidbit you put in about the the seniors being able to walk out with the most wins of anybody if they win this game, that should be inspiration enough. And I just think we're a much better team and probably should have been in the playoff if they had picked the best four. But it was a crazy year.
It was, and I don't want to skip over this. I want to make sure everybody knows that you graduated from Georgia. You were just talking about your
I
fraternity
did.
brothers that you're real tight with, I know, because you're
Yep.
always getting together with them. What years were you at Georgia?
Okay, I graduated. I was 77 to 81. I graduated high school in 77 from Clarkston. Then I went to Georgia and kind of hung out for a couple years and kind of, real honestly, was kind of lost. I mean, I was still having fun, but I made a big decision to be a pledge at the Pi Kappa Alpha fraternity in the fall or the spring of my sophomore year, and it just turned out to be the best decision. Those are my, some of my lifelong best friends. I was blessed to be pledge trainer and then president my senior year. So, I kind of tell people I majored in finance, but I tell people I majored in fraternity because I was, it was really what I did my last year. And it was, we had a house on Lumpkin Street, which is now gone, long gone. And, but it was incredible times. We won the national championship. The fall of 80, we won the national championship. I had a beautiful girlfriend, and Ronald Reagan got elected president. We won, and Herschel Walker was a freshman, and I got elected president of my fraternity. And it was, I jokingly say my life's been downhill ever since.
Well, I mean, what you just described, it would be hard to top that. I mean, I'm trying to I'm trying to fathom and digest what you just told me.
It was a good time.
1980, you're president of your fraternity. You're in Athens. You got Herschel Walker. You're winning a national championship with a beautiful girlfriend. I mean,
it was great times, man.
What was it like?
Yeah.
Were you just sitting there? Did you realize at the time?
Yeah,
I think.
You tried to. I mean, I certainly realized it.
Dream.
Well, being president of a fraternity, if you'd have known where I was 2 years before that, is about the odds of me being on the Swilken Bridge with Jack Nicklaus too. It's just one of those things that it just was. I was very blessed, and at the right time, right place. There were several guys that probably could have been president if they had wanted to run and they didn't, and everything, just the stars have to align for you. But it was it was just a magical time, man. It was great. I mean, with I can't even say enough about how fun it was. It was just, and it made the special relationships. Like I said, we sat today, there were 6 of us got together today that are buddies. We've been friends for 45 years now, 46 years. And it's just been, we stay in touch, and it's just been a great, blessing. But it was big time back in Georgia. Those were what we called the glory days, and now, we're in the next glory days, for as far as football goes, and probably even better. But it was cool, for me, winning that. I was in New Orleans when we won the national championship in 1980, and I went to every game that year except for I'd been working out at the I'd been concrete or waterproofing concrete at the airport on the parking decks that everybody parks at. They were just building those in the summer of 80, and I got a lung infection, and my mom would not let me go to Knoxville, and so I missed Herschel's debut. But I went to the rest of yeah, I know, it's killer. So, but I listened to Larry Munson. It wasn't on TV either. So I did sit in my room by myself in my house in Stone Mountain and listen to Larry Munson call it. So, that was a pretty good consolation since of not being there. But then I went to every other game that year, and that 1981, it was January 1st, 81 was the Sugar Bowl. And, people have seen the pictures, but we flooded the field, and, it was surreal too. It was a great, when we beat Notre Dame. So, it was cool because I got to get my picture made on the 50-yard line, 41 years apart from the national championship. And that was just, so 2021 will always be so magical to me. Last year was fantastic. I mean, it was an unbelievable run, but 2021 still will always be special because that was 41 years after the one that was fortunate enough to be in school at the time.
Okay, speaking of special moments during that time, world's largest outdoor cocktail party. Lindsey Scott, that play. Where were you in the stadium? What happened? I mean, tell me what that was
Okay.
like.
Well, I went down there with my buddy, one of the guys I was with today, and his girlfriend, and me and my girlfriend, who I mentioned earlier, and we were staying at the. We always stayed at the Days Inn by the airport out in Jacksonville. It was kind of I don't know who got the rooms, but somebody from the Pikes had started getting the rooms there years before. So we stayed out there and we went to the game and tailgated, and we were sitting in the end zone. Lindsey ran right to us. We were in the corner of the end zone. So it
Are
was,
you kidding
it
me?
was
Hold on,
unbelievable.
time out.
No,
So Lindsey Scott is running to you in your
yeah.
corner of the end zone.
Yeah, he all the craziness of the people jumping around and all the cheerleaders and everybody happened right down below us in the old Gator Bowl, which was it was a bowl. It didn't have any
Yeah,
upper decks,
yeah.
and it was rickety. It was made with iron and stuff, and it really would rock and things. And yeah, he ran right at us. It was just it was it was just I mean, I don't know what you could say about that. That's still to me got to be. And I know the Keely Ringo interception, which I was fortunate to capture, was pretty cool. But and one of the greatest moments ever, without question. I mean, it always will be. But that Lindsey Scott play, I mean, that was just, if you were in the stadium and you knew and you hear the Munson call and all that, it was just, I still think it's the greatest play in Georgia history. And in my opinion, it always will be, because that was spring. Without that, we don't win that 1980 national championship.
Right.
We don't.
Right.
And we were, it was 3rd down and 8. They were on the other end of the field. It was on, they were on the 8. We were on the 8, I think, or the 7 or something. And it was just,
Yeah.
it looked bad, man. I mean, it was bad. And back then, those games it was nasty between the fans. I mean, it was really, it was hostile. Back in those days. I mean, it's a lot calmer today than it used to be, but it was crazy. So you did not want to lose those games. And I was fortunate I started going in 78. So we won the first 6 I went to, and 10 out of the first 12. And then the OBC, as they call him, came to Florida, and that changed. And then fortunately, we got
I
some
don't want to.
mojo.
I don't want to talk to him. I want to go back to the Lindsey Scott play. As you're seeing
Yeah.
him, did you grab your girlfriend and start making out while he's in the stadium and everybody's freaking out?
I probably soon afterwards, I hope. There were certainly some celebrations amongst all of us, but it was just, I think drinks were flying, and it's, it was just insane. I mean, it was just because, just like Larry said, it's a mirror, it was a mirror. I mean, it was just, you never would have. I mean, it's an unbelievable experience. I mean, the only thing that has been close to that I got to see, and it's still below it to me because I'm so much more tied into the Georgia than the Braves, but the Sid Bream play, that play, but I was there for that. And that baseball wise, that was the coolest, but this, I mean, it just really blessed to have been there with, it was just an unbelievable weekend. And I got elected president of fraternity on Monday night afterwards. So that worked out pretty good weekend, So,
I mean, I would think you're there with your girlfriend and Lindsey Scott scores. I mean, are you at that point thinking, well, maybe she's the one. Maybe I should just propose right here. This is it. I'm never gonna have a moment like this. This is it.
I know, it was great. It was just a great time. And it was just one of those incredible experiences that I've been blessed to have, and just being a part of the Georgia nation. And I'm a Georgia Bulldog born and bred. My parents met at Georgia. My dad's from Athens. My uncle Bill played for Georgia in the 50s and actually ran the Wally's Boys, which is all the guys that played for Wally Butts. My uncle was the kind of the I don't know. He didn't have a title as president, but he basically was the president of that group. He and Warren Smith ran that until he passed away in 2019. So, I was born in Athens. I was always my grandparents lived there. So I always went there on vacations, or not vacations, but during the summer I'd go visit my grandparents. So, it was, my whole life was, all about, Athens has always been Mecca to me. And I've been really fortunate to be, a part of the Dawg Nation. And now to be able to contribute just a little bit, some photos of this great run has been it's been a real blessing too, and so a lot of that comes. I quit drinking in '06, so that I think I've meant that. So one of those things that if you got a problem, I would tell everybody, don't be afraid to reach out. Don't be afraid to address it. I did that in 2006. And frankly, none of what I've got today, or none of this photography, or me talking to Mad Dog here, or the gallery, or any of that would have happened if I hadn't. So I've been blessed by that, to be able to, be sober for 17 years. And that's been something that I would encourage anybody that's struggling with any type of issue to go get help if you need it.
Well, I don't even know where to start with all that. So I'll
Yeah.
just stream of consciousness. First of all, you're very humble to say that you've contributed a little bit, because you've contributed a lot, and
Well, I
it's
appreciate that.
so awesome to see your success and your humility with that success, and where you give your credit, and getting sober, and how that changed things, and you can't argue with the results that have occurred since you did that, and your great success. And it's just so cool to see all these things, all these great things happen, to you, for you, that you've made happen, and see all these, I keep saying it, but these iconic pictures and images that you put out there for everybody in the Dog Nation. And man, I can't say thank you enough. And, just getting to know you, and as we've made this second run of the Glory Days, has just been awesome.
Well, that's been one of the great things about, kind of, rekindling a friendship with John that I started years ago, and then, getting closer, and, doing some pretty cool traveling with you and getting to know you, and you're just doing a great job. I mean, this thing is taking off, and I just see it continuing to rise. And I appreciate everything you said. I mean, one of the things for me is, I photograph with a lot of talented guys, and I'm definitely not the best photographer down there. I probably got the biggest mouth, and, and I'm an old sales guy. I was in sales for 40 something years. So I'm kind of a PT Barnum a little bit, and you got to promote yourself. But there's a lot of great guys that I photograph with, and hopefully we can showcase some of their talent in the future, if we can do something with the Classic Collective, which would be something that we hope we can do here shortly. And I've been fortunate to be, I'm the least technical guy out there photographing, but I got lucky. My grandmother, who I mentioned earlier, that lived in Athens, gave me Sports Illustrated, a subscription to Sports Illustrated when I was in 1970, when I was 10 years old. And little did I know, I was really kind of, training myself to be a sports photographer by looking at the pictures in that magazine, the greatest sports photos in the world, for all that time. And I'd always been the guy with the camera. I've shot. I just always had I've got the bad pictures from college that people don't want me to show. And I've got all the, I've just always had the camera. So it's just been a real blessing, even at later in life, which I am, to be able to do what I love. Because right today I'm a full-time photographer. I shoot I'm the Touchdown Club of Atlanta photographer. I actually do a lot of high school sports is kind of my main thing. I just shot 3, Pierce County, thanks to Stetson's mother, and who's a friend of mine, the Bennett's, and then Brock Vandegrift's dad coaching at Prince Avenue. I got through them, and then my cousin Catfish Jackson, who got me into Savannah Christian, so I was able to shoot all those games. But I do a lot of work at Mount Pisgah and at West Forsyth. They're kind of my two schools that I do a lot of photography for, and it's just a lot of fun. I mean, it's just getting paid to sit in the dugout with 10-year-olds and photograph them. It takes you back to when you were a kid, and it's just a real blessing. So I encourage everybody. For me, I went to Africa in 2018 with a guy, and I just said, hey, I got to follow my dream. I got to take a leap into doing this full time, because I was burned out and tired of the corporate world. And I've been fortunate, I've been lucky and blessed, and it's just a great thing to, deal with, meet people and get to know folks like yourself. And it's a real blessing to take pictures of these kids. The parents love it, the kids love it. And, if I can capture a moment that they're showing their grandchildren, in 60 years from now, and it was my photo, then I always say that's my little bit of touch with immortality, I guess, to be able to do something. But it's a lot of fun to be able to capture these images. And, I'm really blessed with what I do at this point.
So, and I know this because I know people commission you to, their sons, playing football. It's his senior year and they want, all these great pictures of him, and they will hire you to do that. Do you have bandwidth if somebody wanted that done in 2024? Could they contact you to do that?
Yeah, I mean, it depends. I'm kind of, the whole thing with me is I can only be in one place at one time. So
Right.
I'm kind of on Friday Night Lights. I'm kind of booked. With the schools that I've been doing. I kind of believe in dancing with the girl that brought you to the dance. Kind of thing. So
Yeah.
I'm loyal. But I can be bought, I guess. But because it is money, but yeah, but I love to shoot. I've got a lot of people that want me to come. Somebody wanted me to come down to Pierce County and shoot some softball, and if I can make it happen, I'd love to. The big thing for me is that just the scheduling, but I'm out there. I'm trying to do it. If I can shoot every day, I'm a happy guy. And I do other things too. I mean, I do senior pictures. I do corporate stuff, so not just sports, but I've kind of made my name, I guess, if I've got one, in sports, obviously. So
I need to have a sesh with you and get you to do a bunch of Mad Dog glamour shots. Some
okay,
glossy.
we'll do that.
I'll break your camera.
Okay, all right, we'll do that.
People, it's the best way to tell people to find you on Facebook.
Yeah, Facebook, or I mean, it's Facebook is probably the best. There's Rob Saye. You'll see my picture. I mean, actually, this picture of my son's painting, this is. I'm going to bring this back in.
Yeah,
so you can see it without it being too glary. There it is.
Yeah,
so good. yeah, and I don't mind. You can text me. And or whatever you want to do, and I mean, I've got a business card, and obviously, and but I'm out there. My number out. It's 678-951-6810. So 678-951-6810. Find me on Facebook. I'm Rob Saye 111 on the Instagram too. Rob Saye 111. That's my initials. Robert Paul Saye III.
I love that you put a "the" in front of Instagram on the Instagram.
did I say that? I just
You did say that.
Did I say that? Oh man!
Yeah, you said on the Instagram.
Oh, I meant Instagram. So that's crazy. I said that. I did. I don't think I've ever said that before, but yeah. But I'm on it. I got it. I had to get on Instagram, so I'm on there. So.
Oh heck yeah, you got to be on there, especially with your line of work.
Absolutely. So, but I'd love to, I'm glad to work with people. It's just a lot of fun, and hopefully we have fun doing it. I mean, that's one thing about senior pictures. I mean, we have a lot of fun doing it. It's not going to be, dry. I mean, I think that's, one thing I do bring to it is I've got a few stories, and I like to laugh and tell, have fun, and that's that I think hopefully that adds a little bit to the experience for me and them.
Absolutely. I mean, it's all about having fun. And as somebody said one time, life's all about the stories, and you got tons of great stories.
Been blessed, been hung out with some crazy people, had some crazy times. I mean, when you talk about that Georgia Florida game, I mean, that before I quit drinking, those first 25 of those were just, I always tell people, I said, it was just, everything that could happen did happen, except for I never personally went to jail and nobody died. But other than that, it happened. So it was crazy. So I'm a big advocate of keeping that game in Jacksonville. Just my uncle's and my Uncle Bill's in the Hall of Fame there. He had a great game in '54. He against at the Georgia Florida game. He intercepted 2 passes, recovered a fumble, and rushed. He and a guy named Roy Wilkins kind of blocked an extra point, and Georgia beat Florida 14-13 to keep them from winning the SEC, which they would have won if they won that game. And they didn't win it again until that guy we don't want to talk about came to Florida. So
Well, no wonder he was MVP. Intercepted. He had 2 picks and a fumble
2
recovery.
picks and a fumble recovery. And the coolest thing too is it was written up in Sports Illustrated, the 15th issue of Sports Illustrated.
Wow.
It's got a duck on the cover, so it was kind of crazy. But yeah, it was written up in that magazine, and so yeah, he went in the Hall of Fame with John Brantley in 2011. They went into that Georgia Florida Hall of Fame, which this year was Coach Rick and Terrence Edwards were the inductees. So it's
Okay.
yeah, it's really cool. I mean, it's a who's who of Georgia players and athletes. I mean, Georgia players over the years and coaches. So it's really cool. But I love that game. There's no other game like that. There's not one. I mean, the Red River, they can't even call it the Red River Shootout anymore because of the woke society, I guess. But that's nothing compared to this. I mean, I think it's a one of a kind event, and I just love it down there. I hope we keep it there. That's my 2 cents. So
Yeah. I'm with you. Number one. Number two. Who knows?
yeah. Who knows? I just can't. Jacksonville's going to throw a lot of money at it. They don't want to
Oh,
lose it. So, and I can see that that's definitely a piece of the, of anyone that talks about it from coaching standpoint or anybody else. They're certainly posturing. They want to get as much as they can out of the deal, which is the name of the game these days, I guess.
Yep. That is absolutely the name of the game.
Yeah, it's a little bit sad. I tell my buddies, I said college football as we knew it is gone, and it's not coming back. But it's still going to be the greatest. We'll just have to, we just got to embrace the chaos, as they say, and just
Exactly.
understand that hey, it's different, but it's still going to be fun. And the 12-team playoff, we all wish we'd had it this year. That's for sure, because there were certainly 6 or 7 teams that deserved to be in it. That's for sure.
Yep. We just got to roll with the changes, and it's still the greatest sport on earth.
Oh yeah, it'll still be awesome. And a couple of years from now, we'll all be adapted to it, and it'll be just the greatest thing still. So
That's right.
yeah.
Well, hey Rob, man, I really appreciate you joining me. I'm glad we were finally able to do this.
Well, I appreciate you having me on. I hope we can do it again, and it's been great. You're doing a great job. I mean, this thing's just taken off, and I'm honored that you asked me to be here.
Oh, we're going to do it again. Don't you worry.
Okay, sounds great. All right.
All right.
Happy New Year. Go Dogs.
Go Dogs. Well, it feels like it's been a while, but once again, Vance Levy from Bulldog Illustrated. How you doing, my man?
What's happening?
Just survived Christmas. I'm still licking my wounds from the SEC championship. I'm still bitter. I'm always going to be bitter because I believe in fairness. Well, we got to move forward, and good things have happened, as you know, with this. I'm calling it a historic recruiting class due to everything that's happened. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, we knew it was looking good, and then it got even better with the flip, right? I mean, that was like the Christmas present of all Christmas presents. And
Okay, so I got to ask you, because to me the timing was very interesting that you've got these 2 teammates at Buford. One is committed, one is not. Then, as everybody knows, Ravioli decommitted, and then magically Bolden's back in play. So that tells me that one may not want to be in the locker room with the other one anymore. Connecting dots.
Yeah, well, I think some NIL money was made available when Nebraska paid big bucks.
Yeah, you're probably right. There was probably some NIL money that magically freed up with that decommitment. But I for one, am very happy, and it's not sour grapes, because I've been saying all along, and I bet you agree, that Polisi is the real deal. And tell me if I'm pronouncing that name right. I've heard
I think that's correct.
I mean, he committed first. He never wavered. When Dylan committed, everybody asked him, "What are your thoughts on that?" And it was always like, "Hey, that's fine. I'm here to compete." And I respect that. He's not out there shopping himself to different high schools and to different colleges and writing poetry. He's just low key. Here I come. That looked like it was written by Chat GPT. I hope he could at least blame that on Chat GPT, because it was so horrific.
That's just where we are, man. You can't get too attached to anyone.
Well, no. The poetry is not where we are. The poetry was,
Right.
I don't think I've seen that done yet.
No,
Or was it prose? I don't know. I
no,
didn't read it carefully enough.
no. You probably read more than I did.
Exactly.
All
But
right,
yeah,
but now before we move on, can I give you my final what should have happened on Selection Sunday?
yes.
And Jeff Danzer even agreed with me, which
Lay it
is
on me. I bet I agree too.
okay. So I finally, and it took me, I think it was, gosh, two or three nights ago, I finally figured it out. 12-0 Georgia, 3 straight 12-0 regular seasons, back-to-back national championship. If those guys and girls had known what the heck they were doing, Georgia was in before we played Alabama.
Right.
They're in, we're starting from here, right?
Okay. Right.
And I mean, let's have fun here. Who would have the other three been at that point? Washington's probably in, Michigan,
Yeah.
and then, and there's the quandary because Texas beat Alabama and Alabama beat us. So we go to number 6.
Well, I mean, to me, if you're talking about the 4 best teams, it's Texas, Alabama, and us right out of the gate. And then I think you put Michigan in there over Washington because Washington feels like the TCU of this year from all those close games that they kept winning. I'm still not a believer in Washington.
I'm not a believer in Michigan.
I'm not either, but I know
No.
there's no way that they're going to let Michigan not be in it, despite the fact that they suspend their coach twice in one season for 2 different, cheating infractions.
I mean, yeah, it is, as Dan McGill used to say, it's a bitter pill. And the fact that Georgia was number 6 and FSU is number 5. FSU is on South Beach and Georgia's downtown. The way the hotels work.
Yeah, I mean,
So take that.
exactly.
Just one more. 2-time national championships.
Their strategy was to have people so infuriated or thinking that it was just so crazy to have FSU not in the top 4 that they wouldn't even talk about us.
Yeah. I mean, 1-6.
Yeah.
Even though number 1 was there basically. Well, wasn't Ohio State maybe number 1 for a week?
Yeah, they were.
Yeah. But yeah, what was that? 8 or 9 straight weeks?
Yep.
And a 3-point loss with a dozen people hurt.
And if Michigan wins this, we all know eventually the whole thing will get vacated.
Right. Although I will say I'm glad Bama got in because it would have really been hard to swallow that those other 4 teams would have basically had a backdoor national championship without playing like a super physically fast team.
Well, should we hope that Michigan wins it all since we know that'll eventually be vacated, which means nobody will have gotten it this year?
Yeah. So then if we won it next year, the 3-peat was
exactly.
I can't root on Michigan.
I didn't say I'm going to root for them.
Yeah.
There's no way I could do that. But if that should, I'm not rooting for anybody. But if that should happen, that would be justice.
I think I'm rooting for the Dogs, the other dog, the Pacific Northwest Dogs.
For Washington?
Yes.
There's something that makes me want to pull for A.D. Mitchell and Sark.
Sure.
They're coming to the SEC. I'm not going to pull for Bama.
Yeah. Well, although I want Bama to boat race Michigan like we did.
Yeah.
So then next year when Michigan's undefeated with another lackluster schedule, maybe they'll be like, okay, Michigan, you're going to go from number 3 to number 4, and it's not going to matter next year, obviously. But I mean, you could have argued that Michigan's schedule, everyone talked about how bad Georgia's was, and then it ended up turning out pretty darn strong. Michigan's was terrible.
It was horrific.
Yeah. And then Ohio State's quarterback, I mean, you and I could have hit receivers better than that poor cat.
Absolutely. And so why does Michigan get a pass on everything? Their schedule, their coach cheating, not once but twice. What is it? I mean, they're operating like gangsters that don't have rules.
Well, and it was just the perfect storm, though. They sat there at number 3 and kept beating the heck out of every sorry team they played. They beat Ohio State handily, which they did. That was not as close a game, in my opinion, as the score. I mean, it tightened up, but Michigan pretty much manhandled them. So then, of course, they naturally went to 2. And
But
whereas
what I'm saying is
I agree.
their schedule was nothing. They caught cheating at the back end and the front end of the season. They get a slap on the wrist both times, and because here's the deal. Here's where I'm going. If that's Georgia and Kirby Smart starts the season with a cheating scandal, gets suspended or self-imposed because he knows it's coming anyway, ends it with a 3-game suspension with their schedule, we're not in. They're not going to let us in. They're going to find a way to keep us out.
I don't know.
You know I'm right. I'm right.
Like I said, the more bold move would have been that Georgia was in, having been back-to-back national championships and had gone another 12-0. They should have been in, period. So if they lose, they're 4, but they're in, and we'll take the darts, however. Because in the end, they probably would have had to pick between Alabama and Texas. And then you would have had an SEC champion that left out. But
like I said,
Alabama sure does fall on the right side of all of these, don't they?
They sure do. I'm taking, it's one thing to lose that game, but then to be kicked in the face the next day with what they did. I mean, I'm going to take this bitterness to my grave. I'm sorry. I just am. It's just, I'm not going to let it go. I can't.
Oh, no. I mean, an old friend of yours, Casey King, he nailed it. And several of us, I think I wanted it to beat Bama and be in the playoff. And if we didn't get the 3-peat, I would have been okay with that. But to get beat by them again and not getting the playoff, it's just bitter.
Wait, what was Casey King's quote?
Oh, yeah.
You can't say it on air?
Yeah, I can't say it on air. But basically, it was one more opportunity not to be Alabama's little brother.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I got you. I owe him a phone call. I'm going to call old Casey. He's a good guy.
And unfortunately, hey, give them credit. They played well. And they caught us at a great time. I mean, looking back at it and looking back how Tech moved the ball on us, we almost should have seen it coming. That the inexperienced players out there on defense was going to be a tough haul, and it was.
And I think Mims coming out was a big.
Yes.
I mean,
yeah,
huge. We had to reshuffle the line, and I mean, he was our best lineman, obviously.
Yeah. And I don't. You may never get Georgia fans back in the bins.
My son, my 21-year-old son, is a junior. All he knows is winning natties, and the only 2 games that we've lost were with me in the bins against Alabama. And he told me, he goes, "Dad, I'm not coming back here with you."
Right.
I can't blame him.
Yeah, I think the one time recently. Well, that's not true. We beat LSU, but I'm like, I might have to start staying at the Glen again. We beat Auburn when I went that route. I got to try something new. Jeez.
All right, let's talk about something happy.
Okay, sorry.
So we got Beck coming back.
Yep.
I think Bullard's going to come back.
You do?
I do think Bullard's going to come back. I don't think – I think Lassiter's gone. I think McConkey's 30 staying, 70 going.
Yeah.
But other than that, I think we came out of this thing looking pretty darn good.
Yeah. I mean, and with the schedule whatever we paid back is probably worth it with the schedule we have next year.
Oh,
a proven quarterback that really he only had one so-so game.
I mean, we gave up Vandy so that we could be at Ole Miss, at Alabama, and at Texas.
Yep.
And we gave up what? Did we give up South Carolina?
Yep. No South Carolina next year.
So, I mean, let's talk about a program that seems to be in free fall, and that's Florida.
Yeah, you just never know, man. It's old Billy's got a tough task with that schedule next year.
I mean, yeah, we pick off ETN and he's got that schedule. I mean, they're staring at 5-7 in the face again.
Yeah.
Could he survive that? They got no patience down there.
I think you'd have if he doesn't beat some people he shouldn't next year, then I don't know that you can go on. Although I think they ended up landing a couple there at the end, recruiting wise, that kind of for where they've been, they are recruiting better.
But they're not re-recruiting their roster better when you see ATN leave and the other guy, Prince something, that went to Ole Miss.
Yeah.
I mean, that's their two marquee players. I mean, they got Mertz coming back, but I mean, he's no world beater.
I mean, what's Lane Kiffin doing over in Oxford?
He's found some money.
Yes.
He's a salesman. He's a salesman.
I mean, he throws down nothing but aces in the portal.
Yeah, he does. All right. So if I had to put a gun to your head, how does it shake out? Obviously, we're going to beat the brakes off of FSU. Who's going to win it all?
I mean, hey, Bama.
Okay. I meant to ask you this earlier. When was the last time Jim Harbaugh won a bowl game?
Never, or did he win his last one as a quarterback?
He's won one bowl game his entire time at Michigan, and it was year one, the Citrus. I can't even remember who it was against, but he's lost every bowl game after that.
Yeah. It's too bad we still can't have ties.
Yeah, exactly.
And then the number 16 gets to play the winner that actually won a game.
Yeah, there you go. What are you most excited about for next year?
Oh man, that's a good question. I mean, I think ETN is going to be kind of fun, for sure. And I mean, I think Schumann's real fired up about his linebackers. I mean, that is the upside to those young guys playing the way they had to this year. They're ready for next year. And I mean, and then just see if Beck can continue the season that, I mean, geez, there wasn't much to complain about.
You're right. And nobody's really talked about this. I mean, as far as coaches go, I mean, I think we did really well in only losing one.
Yeah. I mean, I ran into Schumann's wife like game 3, and I was like, before a game, and I was like, "Are we gonna lose y'all this year?" She's like, "Oh no, we love it here." So, which that guy could go to some pretty good places, I would think.
I'd still say he's an Alabama guy. Once Saban retires, that's when you would be the logical play for him.
Right.
Because it's not like he's underpaid.
Right. And I think JD threw out an interesting one, like North Carolina could be interesting.
Yeah. Because how many more years does Mac Brown have?
Right.
You don't think they'd elevate Chiz to head coach if Mac Brown left?
I mean, I'm trying to remember. There's somebody else on that staff that is even more obscure. God, I might have to, while we're talking, I might figure it out. I just discovered it in the last week because I was like, where is this guy right now? And he was like the run coordinator and tight end coach at Chapel Hill. But What do you think about the game? I mean, FSU doesn't have anybody playing.
I mean, for the longest time, I suspected they were just going to throw their cards on the table and say we're out altogether, and I still have my doubts. I'll believe it when I see them line up and kick it.
Okay, I figured it out. You remember that guy that had the red face for the Browns that was actually a quarterback at Alabama, Freddie Kitchens?
No.
Okay, whoa. He is the run game coordinator and tight ends coach for Mac Brown. And he was the head coach of the Browns. There you go.
Okay, and you're predicting him to be the new head coach when
No,
Mac Brown leaves?
I'm just saying it was funny that Mac Brown's got himself an interesting staff.
Oh.
Yeah. But yeah, he's 49 and he was a quarterback at Alabama.
Okay.
He's clearly not in quarterback shape these days.
No, he is not. All right. Well, Vance, I've got folks stacked up back to back, and I know you've got dinner plans, so I
Yes, sir.
appreciate you joining. Do you have any final words of wisdom?
Hey, 2024, baby. September 28th, 2024.
I hear you. Mark it on your calendar.
Tuscaloosa.
I hear you. We need
That's
to go show up.
Yeah, I mean that's when the blackout revenge, baby.
I love it. I love it.
Circle it.
Can you see this message from
Yes.
from Farmer? All right.
I mean, that guy will do anything for publicity.
I mean, I could bring him on now, and you two can just fight it out.
No, I'll let him have the stage.
Okay. Thanks for joining us. Happy New Year and go Dogs.
Be good. Thanks, dude. Happy
Yes,
New
sir.
Year. Y'all have a good one.
All right, you too.
See ya.
See ya. Farmer, I didn't even know you could send these messages.
I didn't know either. So
Let me give you the proper intro. Stephen Farmer, Chief Revenue Officer from the Classic City Collective, which is Georgia's NIL arm. Welcome back.
thank you, sir. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
I love your background. It looks like you're at a posh 5-star resort.
I am actually not. I'm in Monroe, Louisiana, with my daughter, but that was the background. It looked kind of cool. So, and it's very chilly here, and it's not that background looks a lot nicer and warmer than it is here. So,
Well, it sounded like y'all had a fun day in store. I hope you did. And other than that, other than Christmas with a young daughter, you've probably been a very busy man.
I have been. It's been this last month of December has been pretty crazy. A lot of changes, and right now, we're working on getting everybody's final gift in before the year for tax reasons and things like that, and making sure people have receipts and that kind of stuff. So it's been I had to answer the phone a few times when I was playing at the arcade with my daughter, but she seemed to understand as long as Dad was still swiping his card and playing games with her. She was fine.
So let's explain the end of the year donations and the receipts. So people are trying to make charitable donations, correct?
Correct. Yes.
To the Athens Touchdown Club.
Correct. Which is 100% tax deductible.
Okay.
And then we're able to use some of those things to help our players. And so it's been a great partnership with the Touchdown Club. We run a lot of events with them, including our end of year gala, or I guess our spring gala now. It's kind of changed changed things, and it's April 9th, I believe, this year. Actually, no, I'll take that back. It's April 6th this year. Going to be a great event, and it's tax deductible, an event as well. But the Touchdown Club puts it on, and so. But back to the end of the year, yes, end of year stuff. As long if you're sending a check to the Classic City Collective or whatever, as long as it's postmarked by December 31st, it still counts. I was discussing that with my staff yesterday. Luckily, I remembered that from my days of fundraising at UGA and other places, where as long as the check and if you can prove and have evidence to the IRS if they ever come back saying the gift wasn't in time, you can show the postmark that's actually on the envelope that gets delivered through USPS with that. So that makes it a little easier to do an approved IRS.
So Mad Dog Show wants to make a donation to the Athens Touchdown Club. I just make it to Athens Touchdown Club with my checkbook, mail it to Classic City Collective, and it's a donation for 2023.
Correct. Yes, sir. And that's 269 North Hull Street, Suite 300, Athens 30161.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
But if they just want to make a normal contribution, just go to Classic City Collective and they just can treat that as if they're a business, they treat it as a business expense.
Correct. Yes, sir. Absolutely. Yeah.
So yeah, you're trying to get all the guys staying, make sure they're taken care of, and get the new guys taken care of. It's just
the you guys, we were preparing things to get ready for them when they get on campus when I guess they're officially enrolled on the 7th.
okay.
And so we're we'll start finding them deals and things like that come when they get on campus. Some of the guys actually have been on campus. Some of the players have been practicing on campus. I went to a couple of bowl practices and we had I think 10 or 12 guys that were actually participating in bowl practices, and we got another 12 or 15 coming in January. So we should have Mad Dog, I want to say 25 of the 28 signees coming in early, and then that include a couple of guys that are coming in the portal, Humphreys and Etienne and things like that. So that's been some interesting things, listening to those things happening and getting kids in and making sure that we when we get people in here, we don't have to say no to Kirby and the staff about what we can do and how we can help.
So they can't receive any NIL money until they're officially enrolled.
Correct.
Does Classic City Collective, I guess, sets a fundraising goal for 2024 dollar wise?
Yeah. And once we get all the kids in and have those conversations, get things in, we'll have a better understanding. But we've now got 2 years of actual doing it and of history, and so we have a pretty good idea of what the marketplace is for kids and things like that. So of what we'll need for 2024, and that number's gone up, and the numbers it's going up mainly because the number of kids receiving NIL is going up every year until eventually, probably this year, should be close to 100% of our kids getting something. Maybe not all of them getting stuff through us. Some of our star players, I think we've talked about this in the past, some of our star players don't need us. Brock Bowers never needed us. Luckily for us, because and for him, and that's the American way, and that's the capitalistic culture, that capitalism, and he's allowed to go make his own money now, and he did really well. And some businesses got Brock when he was a freshman, before he was what we now see as Brock Bowers is the greatest tight end ever to play the game in college, and they got him and got him on the cheap. When you look at 3 years later, 2 Mackey Awards later, and a future top 10 pick, they got him early because they signed him early. So I've talked to some businesses around. I'm like, our freshman will be in town in 2 weeks. You ought to jump on some of those guys and get those guys early and try to use them. And as they grow, they'll have been with you. There'll hopefully be some loyalty there and some ability for you to possibly sign them through their college years and get them a little bit cheaper.
So you've done an excellent job educating me, educating everybody that listens on how this works. If you had to pull out your crystal ball and say, this is where this is going, do you see some sort of cap put on, per team, per player, so that, the haves can't, spend an unlimited amount of money and the have-nots can't, thus making the playing field unlevel?
I don't see there ever being a cap. There are a few things in the past the NCAA has tried to do, and they had the restricted earning coaches for a while in football and in baseball and basketball, and that it's against some antitrust laws and a few of them. And again, I'm not an expert on that side of it, but I knew they got overturned because the NCAA was trying to limit people's earnings, and that's just not something you can do. And had there been an agreement by the NCAA years ago to put some limit on it, they might have gotten in, might have been approved by schools. But once it's out the bag, it's out the bag. So one, I don't ever see a cap. Possibly if the Power 5 schools break off, if you look in the crystal ball, I see that eventually they may, form their own NCAA, for lack of a better term, and put rules in place that as schools join, yes, they accept those rules, and the players, if you're going to come play in that conference or in that super conference, whatever it is, or the 4 super conferences, whatever, 64, 68 top teams, that's what you're agreeing to, is to a possible cap. But that might end up being a possible cap. There's thousands of scenarios, and I've had discussions with all kinds of people, and there's thousands of scenarios. They could, the top 64 teams, and I say 64 because it's a good bracket number in the NCAA basketball tournament. They could break off and start their own league and just be football and put a cap on it. That the school and or collective from each school pays a kid, but then he still has the ability to go out on his own and earn money on top of that. There might be some of that. But again, that's just hard to, who's to say what they're earning on top of what the cap is legit or not. And so they've opened the gates and the floodgates per se, and they're out there. And so I don't see it really slowing down. As far as some of the big numbers, it'll be interesting. I still think that market's going to come down. We've seen it on certain positions and certain things where that number's not as high as it was. And Mad Dog, I'll tell you this, and everybody that's listening, the numbers are never what you hear. The numbers are never as high as what you hear. All this mess about, and it was a guy from Tennessee out there saying that Carson Beckett demanded $4 million to stay at UGA. That's just a ridiculous number. It's not even close. And Carson's just as worried about is what his offensive line looks like and his receiving core looks like, as opposed to what his NIL looks like. And so don't, please to tell these people, do not, believe the numbers you hear and read about. They're inflated by agents. They're inflated by the players themselves. They're inflated by other coaches. Just everybody's just throwing numbers out there and seeing if, somebody will buy it and give somebody a kid like that. But they're not what these kids are making good money, trust me. But, it's not what people think they are.
Well, and the thing is, and you said it, the cat's really out of the bag. We've opened Pandora's box and we're not going back. And so, you got to, like I've said, you got to learn to like it, because that's just what it is. It's kind of like pro baseball with a farm system. Mm-hmm. And, I've never had a problem with these guys making money. And in the past, you had ridiculous scenarios where, AJ Green gets suspended for signing a jersey. Todd Gurley gets suspended for signing these tiny little helmets in the back of somebody's car. And the guy's just trying, to have a little change in his pocket. Meanwhile, everybody else is making money off all these jerseys, Todd Gurley jerseys and AJ Green jerseys. Mm-hmm. So I got zero problem at all with these guys finally making money. And it is what it is. And so we all need to learn to like it, and then take it a step further. And as fans, get on board and realize that this now is our new reality, and this is what it's going to require to field a good football team. So if you're willing to buy that jersey, and if you're willing to buy that ticket to the game, this is just another little added expense, for you to be literally a part of the team.
Absolutely. And, my last, when I'm meeting with individuals or a group talking to, there's not a lot of things as a collective I can give someone, or, I have some access to go to a practice and do a few things like that. But ultimately is, do you want to keep winning? That's ultimately what it comes down to. And do we love what this has become? No, we don't. No one does. Kirby doesn't. There's, the way the calendar fits now with these guys, it is a mad rush. I mean, it'd be like right now or in 2 weeks when the NFL playoffs start, free agency also starts. And you got guys that are supposed to be playing in the, AFC. And I think Lane Kiffin said something very similar to this, that, it's just the timing and schedule is not great. They've got to fix it. And you got kids that are, and luckily in the last 2 years, we haven't had to really worry about the portal this time of year because we were getting ready for the playoffs. But the quarterback from Texas, the kid that's a backup, it was in his best interest personally to go ahead and enter the portal and lead the team as they're about to play the two most important games of his life that we all know you're one snap away from having to go in there. And unfortunately, he had to make that decision because other spots will be filled up, and that's not fair to him. And so there's got to be, hopefully, a lot of times the NCAA does not listen to the actual coaches and the actual people who were involved in it. President Baker of the NCAA had never spoken to a person that runs or works at a collective until this a few months ago when our CEO Matt Hibbs and a bunch of guys were up speaking in front of Congress. He had never spoken to somebody from a collective, so that just shows that the NCAA is not where they need to be, and they need to be listening to people in the collectives because we have the most collectives, not every collective, but I think 95% of the collectives have the interest of the players and their main focus. And then listening to the coaches about, hey, I know it's only 4 teams right now that are having more issues because of this, but it's still not fair. It's not fair to a kid, and there's a lot of things that the NCAA just allows to happen and conferences allow to happen. And that we can open up a ton of discussions on, and we'll get way off the NIL, but people traveling across the country to play Rutgers from USC, which makes no sense. But yes, back to what our fans can do. They can join the 21 Club. It's $21 a month. That's 2 Starbucks coffees, probably one with what I know some people order with all the different things in it. And so $21 a month. We're up to about 650, 700 members now, but we need that. That should be 5,000 members easy. That would handle all of our operating costs, take care of most of our players, and allow us to go and find specific deals for certain players as we're trying to keep guys to stay and get them to stay at Georgia and play another year as they're looking at their pro prospects or moving on and moving in the real world kind of thing. But we've got 15,000 season ticket holders. If a third of those people would join, and even you don't have to be a season ticket holder to join to help us support these student athletes. It's very imperative of what we do. And you've seen Kirby's released several things over this past fall, 4 or 5 things saying if you can't do anything else, and join the 21 Club, and that's the truth. And I can promise you this: Kirby Smart doesn't say something unless he believes in and believes wholeheartedly in it.
So the 21 Club, in a perfect world, like right now, how many members would be ideal for you to have?
5,000. That was our goal when we kind of started, and it's moved a lot slower than I thought it would, and part of it's our fault. We're a 3-person staff, and so we're trying to do as much as we can. We haven't had as much emphasis on that. Part of it is a lot of the NCAA restrictions on how we're allowed to advertise it, how the university is allowed to help us with certain things. Unfortunately, they're not allowed to do certain things for us, and those are the rules. We play by them, and the university has been great. Josh Brooks and those guys we have a great relationship with them. Myself and Matt Hibbs have both worked in the athletic department at UGA and I've worked with Josh Brooks, our athletic director here and at Louisiana Monroe, where I'm at right now. And so we have a great relationship, but there's still certain restrictions on things we can do. So we need to tenfold increase our 21 Club in the next year. Let's
set that as a goal.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll keep beating the drum, try and get everybody I can to join.
Yeah, absolutely. It needs to happen. We've got to make it happen. We've got to have some sustainability with this program and with UGA, and having that kind of base really would help. Unfortunately, the guys wear that nasty orange a little bit north of us. They have I think they got around 4,000 or 5,000 members right now, and I think theirs is around the $20 a month or so. Basic same price range kind of thing, a couple $100 a year kind of thing. They've gotten a little ahead of us, and we can't let those guys catch us.
Well, absolutely. And there's a lot of changes in college football that people complain about. They complain about NIL. They complain about the transfer portal. Well, I'm a control what you can control guy. If you can control NIL by contributing to it and being part of the solution. You can't control the portal, right?
Yeah.
The portal is what it is. That's a whole nother subject. That's a whole nother show.
Yeah, easily.
But if you want to help Georgia, if you want to win, like you said, then get on board, get on the bus, and sign up for the 21 Club. That's easy. That's
That-
a happy meal a month.
Absolutely. And that's, that gives us some peace of mind. It gives Kirby. And when I say us, I mean the football program and the rest of the athletic programs. And again, not to take away from other programs, but at UJ, when football succeeds, it helps everybody else. And so we do things for all the men's and women's basketball players. We've got some baseball players and some soccer and a little bit of softball. We help every sport we can and when needed, but we need to. Football funds everybody else. So if football is winning, everybody else benefits from it. And so we've got to have that base for Kirby. If we have that base of 5,000 people at 21 Club, that gives us a little peace of mind. It gives a little breathing room, gives Kirby a little more leeway on what we can do and who we can keep and who we can go after and things like that. So.
And there's literally a feel good factor because you feel like you're a part of the extended team. You are helping to name the player, out there on the field. An example that was used a couple of years ago was Chris Smith. Chris Smith wanted to be a Dawg. He wanted to win another national championship. He had opportunities to go other places, but he just needed some NIL money to send to his family to help pay basic bills.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what the NIL did. It kept him on the roster as a Dawg. And he wasn't trying to get rich, right? He was just trying to pay some basic bills, and he wasn't even being selfish, not for himself. He was trying to help his family.
Yep.
Right.
Absolutely. We've got some kids, Cedric Van Prant stayed around this year and was, All-American, first team All-American in some things and second team other places, but he stuck around and it was not a ridiculous amount of money, but he stuck around because he got a higher grade, or I guess a lower round grade than he thought he would get. And, it might be the same for Tate Ratledge, and Bullard and a few guys. And if they can stay around and be college students and have, all their expenses paid for by the university, and we can help them get some money for their pocket that they can then, because most of our guys, they send money home to take care of their family and do the same thing and work to better and improve their, the draft stock and make sure they get their degree. And heck, we've got a few graduate degrees already, paid for and things. And we're able to help some walk-ons, Makai Muse, who unfortunately entered the portal, but then Dan Jackson, we were able to help out a lot. And, I think he may stick around. And, we got some other walk-ons that are snapper and that was here. I'm going blank on his name, which is awful.
Moat? Is it Moat?
Yeah, Moat. Thank you. Moat. And then, one of my very good friends who was a player when I was a manager, Bruce, Paul Snellings, is his son's on campus and maybe in line for our snapper and Moat. And then now Snellings they do some of the Damn Good Dog outdoor show that we sponsor as CCC, and they kind of help us find some different sponsors and some different little avenues of things we do that kind of maybe resonate a little more with our South Georgia fans and stuff like that. So there's all kind of good feel good stories with kids we're helping out with certain things, and with with some car payments and things like that just make it a lot easier for them to concentrate on their academics and their football when they're not having to worry about mom and dad and the heat. And that's what going back to the AJ Green, when they did all the research on, they found he'd gotten I don't know the exact number, it was like $3,000 and $2,500 went back to mom so she could pay bills. And that's just ridiculous that some of these kids are having to do that kind of thing, and that's what we're able to help them with now.
Exactly, so that they're not thinking about it, because their lives are dedicated to playing football and their lives are dedicated to being in school and getting a degree. They don't need to be thinking about bills. And anybody that's got a problem with that, I got a problem with them.
Exactly.
Because unless you've played a college sport, which I haven't, obviously, but I can try to imagine just how time challenged they are and how much they have on their plate. And if they're worried about their family having to pay bills back in their hometown, just creating that whole next level of stress on them, it's not even fair.
Oh, absolutely. And I was a student manager on the team, and so I spent a lot of time there, but I wasn't physically beaten up every day. running up and down the field, and and exhausted, not able to move, and those kind of things. But it's still time consuming, and what we've had some corporate sponsorships with some companies like in this fall, and they wanted to get kids over there to their place of business a couple of times, and finally I took a couple of the guys they wanted to go there, and I got there from their academic people over in the Buttsmere building, their schedule, and took it because the people were getting a little upset that I couldn't get kids there, and I'm like, here's their schedule. This is what a kid does. And I'm like, this is Saturday and Sunday too. Sunday they're going to get some treatment. They're having to run a little bit, kind of get the soreness out from the game, and then they've got academic and stuff. And it's more than a full-time job. I mean, it's a lot more than 40 hours a week, and so people understand that.
Well, and that's a great point. I want to jump into that a little more. So these players, they're not making their own schedule every day.
No.
Their schedule is given to them, and it says, English 101 is at 9, math whatever is at 10, 11, then lunch, then practice, then dinner, then study hall, and on and on and on until it's bedtime, and they wake up and do it all over again. Probably, I bet there's not a big section in there labeled free time.
No, there's not, and it's they all take classes in the morning. Every once in a while there's a player or two that has to have a lab, because most labs at UJ in their afternoon or after lunch, and that makes it hard for we actually this past fall practiced about 45 minutes later than normal because we had several players that had labs, and we just couldn't get them over there in time to get ready and practice. So Kirby had to kind of change the thing up. But they all take classes in the morning. They're over in the football offices having lunch and lifting by lunch every day, and then they got meetings until practice, and then hour and a half practice, 2-hour practice, and then they watch a little film after practice, and then they got study hall, they got dinner, and it is a full-time job plus. And then that kind of leads into what we do. We have most of the players as 1099 employees of us that we're paying, but then they have to do things for us. I mean, we don't let them just do it for free. It's harder to do in the fall, but so this time moving forward, this is January, February, March. We can get them to do some things for us, to go to some events for us, do some things, do some signings, get to some businesses around Atlanta, Athens, and things, and do some commercials and some billboards thing. Which the billboards are pretty easy now with a lot of them being digital and that kind of stuff. But they've got other things to do that we've yes, they're making more money, but we've added more stuff to their plate.
Their schedules are far more regimented than most adult schedules will ever be.
100%.
Way more than mine is. I mean, I could tell right away that. I mean, that's brutal. Just thinking about it, and it's not like Monday through Friday; it's Monday through Sunday.
Yeah, well, it's 7 days a week, and even off week. When you say, "Well, they got an off week this week," no, they don't. Off week is when they really go hard, and they practice like the week. I guess the week before the Florida week, they go after it. There's some position battles going on late in the year, and they'll get a couple of days on the weekend for their 2 days off, maybe 3 days off, but it's not an off week by any means. It's off 2 days.
Sleeping in means they sleep till 6:45.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and the thing is, it's year round. And Tate Ratledge is a great guy. He's a fellow Roman from Rome, Georgia, and he's on. He does a little podcast from our office once a week, and he's hilarious. But and he said he's one of the guys they used on recruiting visit with people, and he tells kids, if you don't want to work year round, you don't want to come here. And some people don't, and that's fine. You want to go where you want to go, but if you don't want to work and really bust your tail year round, Georgia's not the place for you. And that's people see all these portal numbers and people leaving, and part of it's that. Part of the guys just don't want to put in the effort that's required from the top down.
I would say to anyone who's old timers that are upset by NIL is, if you think that's a problem, then you need to be a part of the solution, and you need to get on board and literally join the team.
Absolutely. And it's, a lot of it, the much older generation, we've had a lot of trouble. The last 5 to 10 year guys, 5 to 10 years out guys are coming around. Part of it's jealousy, in a fun way, jealousy. They're like, man, wish I had it. I went to the football Letterman's luncheon this spring as a student manager. I'm a Letterman. and the guys like Robert Edwards were there, and Brandon Miller, and Travis Stroud, and a bunch of guys that Brandon Tolbert, a bunch of guys were great players and would have gotten some money, and they laughed and joked and like, can I get some back pay and things like that, and and that is funny and joking, but there are there's a couple of lawsuits out there right now about some guys wanting some back pay, but yeah, I think we're 3 years in now. I think people are starting to open up to a little more, and we're starting to get some headway and we're getting a few former players, and heck, we just got a gift from Nick Claxton, and former basketball player just made a gift to the basketball team for NIL, and he's done extremely well in the NBA, and his dad was a player when I was here, and so they're giving back. So we're starting to see that more and more people, some former players giving back.
That's great. That's what it's going to take.
Absolutely.
Well, man, I got to run, but I appreciate you carving out some time for me, Stephen.
Absolutely, and I'd love to get on here again and talk to you, and hopefully I'll see you on January 9th in Athens for an little event we're putting together for people to come out and see all of our new freshman football players. So
definitely, then text me that info.
Will do. Yes, sir.
All right, go Dogs.
Go Dogs.
Thanks again.
Yep.
Dogger.
D-Dub.
We are recording.
Oh, really? Okay. I didn't know I was on yet. I'm not fully prepared.
Well, I can stop it and restart it.
No. I can make it work. All good.
It's stream of consciousness tonight. It's just back to back to back. I don't know why it worked out that way, but it did. Did you have a good Christmas? Did all your bets come true?
Actually, I did great over Christmas. I look really busy up here, but it's I'm in Virginia, so it's kind of funny. Up here, they allow DraftKings where you can bet like in-game type stuff.
Right.
So I was Christmas Eve. I was with my brother-in-law, and I mean, I was throwing out like $20 bets left and right, and I did okay. But I'm actually glad Georgia's not legal. Because I don't know if I'd get a single thing accomplished if it was legal in Georgia.
Well, I thought it was merely frowned upon because about the only thing we don't have is casinos. It doesn't seem like friendly wagers are policed.
I agree. This is online stuff. So I promise you I could have found a person to take a bet. But online, I think there are only 10 states that maybe don't allow gambling. Or I saw it on Good Morning America a couple of days ago that don't allow legal gambling. Maybe 13 states. I'm not sure, but so I'm sitting there I'm eating some Mexican food and having a margarita and a shot of tequila and and I say, is this guy going to score from the 1 yard line? Yeah, that's not a good thing for me.
No, I hear you. Yeah, we're like, you could immediately, if it was legal, go online and like take that bet instantly.
Exactly. Yeah. How about you and the family?
Old man Christmas. I got clothes and I did get a party rocker.
You didn't get a tie?
What?
You didn't get a tie?
No tie.
Old man Christmas is always a tie. That's what I feel like.
Well, yeah, I know, but nobody wears ties anymore, so I got a belt.
Yeah. Very good. I'm missing
now I'll get a big credit card bill because I gave my kids money.
I'm missing our
But it makes it easier when that's all you got to do.
That's right.
So it's me and you tonight. We got Buffalo. What is Buffalo? He's recruiting at Baylor. There's some big recruit he's trying to land or flip. Can't remember what he said.
That's you are exactly right.
He's trying to flip Amari Jefferson from Alabama to Georgia.
That's right.
And he said we need Cam Sparks. He said we need him too. So boys, you know where you need to go. So listen to Buffalo.
And I'm sure Buffalo is working hard on that. And I guarantee you he is. He'll do a good job. I heard you a little bit just a minute ago on the NIL stuff. I think we'll flip the right people, and for the people that left Georgia, good riddance, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I mean, some of it I think is not, no, there's no animosity if you're talking to a guy and it's like, hey, we love you. You're a 3-star. We've coached you up, but we got a 5-star coming in, and the reality is it's going to be real hard for you to beat him out. So
Exactly.
if you want to go and see what's out there, we're not going to hold it against you, and then they can go somewhere and play, and it's win-win.
That's exactly right. Yeah. Obviously, Rayola to Nebraska, I don't have any super issues with that. So I think we're Georgia's and Kirby, we do